5 Maritime monsters. 1. The Kraken. The Kraken is one of the most feared sea monsters ever described, and its legend has haunted sailors for centuries. Rooted in Scandinavian folklore, the Kraken is depicted as a giant octopus or squid with tentacles so vast that they could wrap around a ship's hull and drag it to the bottom of the ocean. Some accounts claim that the Kraken could be as large as a small island, with sightings dating back to ancient Norse sagas, which describe the creature lurking in the deep waters off the coasts of Norway and Iceland. One of the earliest and most detailed accounts comes from Erik Pontoppidan, a Norwegian bishop and naturalist, who wrote in his 1752 book The Natural History of Norway about a monstrous beast capable of swallowing entire crews. He described the Kraken as a massive creature that would cause a whirlpool when it descended back into the ocean, suggesting that anyone caught near the beast would be dragged into the depths. Sailors feared this creature not only because of its size but also because it seemed to exhibit a form of intelligence, often appearing to toy with ships before striking. The 1700s were filled with stories of vessels that vanished without a trace, feeding the legend of the Kraken. One famous report came from Captain Lawrence de Ferry, a French sailor who claimed in 1700 that his ship was ensnared by a monstrous sea creature while navigating the waters near Iceland. He and his crew described massive tentacles rising from the depths, wrapping around the ship with enough force to bend the wooden beams. The sailors managed to cut the tentacles free before the Kraken dragged them under, but the encounter left the crew traumatized, and they spread tales of the horror to every port they reached. In 1802, the French scientist Pierre Denis de Montfort proposed that the Kraken might be a real creature, an enormous species of giant squid. He drew from accounts of giant squids found washed ashore in Newfoundland and various reports of tentacles seen off the coast of Norway. The discovery of the actual giant squid, Architeuthis dux, capable of growing up to 43 feet, lent credibility to the theory that such a monster could have inspired the legend of the Kraken. While the Kraken itself may not exist, it's clear that something gigantic and terrifying roamed the waters, seeding fear in the hearts of seafarers across the world. 2. The Leviathan. The Leviathan, unlike the Kraken, has a much older and more biblical origin, often described as a serpent-like sea monster of unimaginable size. In the Book of Job, 41:1-34, the Leviathan is depicted as a creature with impenetrable scales, blazing eyes, and the ability to breathe fire, making it a symbol of chaos and destruction. Early Jewish mythology described the Leviathan as a primeval monster created by God, representing the untamed forces of the sea. The story goes that there were originally 2 Leviathans, a male and a female, but God killed the female to prevent them from procreating and overwhelming the world. In medieval Christian interpretations, the Leviathan became synonymous with the devil or a demonic force, capable of engulfing entire fleets in its maw. Various sailors and explorers claimed to have encountered the Leviathan throughout history. One of the most chilling accounts comes from an Icelandic sea captain named Hans Egede in 1734. While navigating the frigid waters near Greenland, Egede and his crew saw a massive creature, described as longer than their entire ship, with a body thicker than the mast, covered in scales. It reportedly had glowing eyes and a spiked back, and it raised its head from the water before vanishing into the sea, leaving the crew shaken and convinced they had witnessed the Leviathan itself. Even more startling are the tales told by sailors off the coast of the Arabian Sea, where the Leviathan was said to have capsized entire fleets with a single movement of its massive body. One 10th-century Arabic scholar, al-Masudi, wrote about a sea monster large enough to swallow multiple ships whole, which he identified as the Leviathan. While many argue these stories may have been exaggerated or misinterpretations of whale sightings, the fear of an ancient sea serpent lurking in the ocean's depths has never quite left the minds of sailors. Modern scholars have theorized that the myth of the Leviathan may have originated from sightings of large whales or other massive marine life, but the terror it inspired remains palpable to this day. With tales of giant snake-like creatures still occasionally reported in modern times, The mystery of the Leviathan continues to haunt the deepest waters of our world. 3. The Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, as it's affectionately called, is one of the world's most famous lake monsters. The legend of Nessie originates in Scotland, where sightings of a mysterious creature in Loch Ness date back to the 6th century. The earliest written account comes from the life of Saint Columba, where the saint is said to have encountered a water beast in the river Ness, commanding it to retreat after it attacked a man. In modern times, the story exploded in 1933 when a couple driving along the newly constructed road adjacent to Loch Ness reported seeing a massive, dragon-like creature crossing the road before disappearing into the water. The local newspaper published the story, and it wasn't long before sightings of Nessie became a global phenomenon. In the years that followed, several people claimed to have seen the monster, describing it as having a long neck, a humpback, and sometimes even flippers. One of the most famous pieces of evidence is the surgeon's photograph, taken in 1934 by Robert Kenneth Wilson, a London-based physician. The photo shows a long neck and head protruding from the water, resembling a prehistoric plesiosaur. Though it was later debunked as a hoax in the 1990s, it still ignited decades of investigation and debate over the existence of Nessie. Countless expeditions have tried to uncover the truth about the Loch Ness Monster, from sonar searches to underwater cameras. In 1972, the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau captured intriguing underwater footage of what appeared to be a large, moving object in the loch. In 2018, a team of researchers conducted a DNA survey of the waters and discovered an abundance of eel DNA, leading some to speculate that Nessie might be an enormous eel rather than a prehistoric beast. 4. Ogopogo. Ogopogo, often called Canada's version of the Loch Ness Monster, has been sighted in Okanagan Lake, British Columbia, for over a century. The indigenous Sayo people were the first to speak of the creature, which they called Ng'aitk, meaning lake demon. According to their lore, the creature was a malevolent spirit, and travelers would bring offerings to appease it before crossing the lake, fearing it would capsize their canoes. The first non-indigenous sighting was in 1872, when a man named John Allison reported seeing a large, snake-like creature in the lake. Descriptions of Ogopogo are often similar, a serpent-like creature between 20 to 50 feet long, with a series of humps that break the water's surface as it swims. In 1926, over 30 carloads of people claimed to have seen Ogopogo swimming near the shores of Okanagan Mission Beach, describing it as having multiple humps, a horse-like head, and dark, glistening skin. Since then, hundreds of people have claimed to see the creature, and various pieces of video footage and photographs have emerged over the years. Yet, despite numerous searches, no definitive evidence has been found. 5. Champ. Champ is a lake monster said to inhabit Lake Champlain, which borders New York, Vermont, and Quebec. The creature has been part of local lore since the Abenaki and Iroquois tribes, who called it Tatoscock. Sightings date back to 1609 when French explorer Samuel de Champlain described seeing a 20-foot serpent thick as a barrel. Modern interest in Champ surged in 1977 when Sandra Mancy captured a photograph showing a large creature in the lake. This photo remains one of the most convincing pieces of evidence. Since then, sonar recordings and eyewitness testimonies continue to add to the mystery. Conclusion. The legends of these monsters remind us that the mysteries of the deep are vast and often beyond our understanding. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time for more mysteries.